Good morning and welcome to Presence of Light with Charlie Riverman Bergeron here on the southwest coast of Maine in the USA. And hopefully the hesitation here all caught up with itself. It's always an adventure to sign in on Friday mornings because I never know what's going to happen in the world of technology. And I have a light that goes on and off. I have all this stuff that happens, and I would like to think it's because of my energy. However, I just think it's the craziness of the world we live in right now that there is just so much interference that it's hard to discern what's ours and what's not. It's really a challenge, if you will, to do that, to figure it all out. So once again, I'm going to say good morning to each of you as I arrange my screens here, and just want to let you know that you're always welcome. You're always welcome, whether you join with me on Fridays or whether you catch me later in the reruns. I also post this on my Facebook page, and I also post it in my YouTube, the live videos, and my blog, and so you can reach me many different ways at different times. If something catches your attention and you want to refer to it in the future and come back to it. So there's many opportunities. I also do it, I put it on SoundCloud as well for those who may just want to listen to it and not see me in person. So today's topic is good morning, Victoria, good morning, Nicoletta, is dealing with conflict. And it's a very strange subject for me. However, as I got up this morning and I scrolled through a very sometimes large pages of information that from different links that I follow, because I like to keep tuned in to the wider scope of what's happening in the world, both in healing and metaphysics and life in general. And the word conflict came up. And I'm just saying, conflict, wow. That's something I'm feeling. And it was funny because the first card I pulled this morning, okay, was this little tiny card. It's a Shanta Gabriel card. It's messages from Gabriel, Archangel Gabriel. And the message is bask in the wonder of life. Go deep, soar high, follow your love, and the joy of fulfillment will be yours. And then the conflict hit me like a ton of bricks. That part of what we're going through now is really conflict on a scale that is unbelievable. So I looked up the word conflict, and my favorite go-to is Merriam-Webster dictionary, and it's not something I normally think about conflict. I mean, I know what conflict is. I understand it, but it's not something that was consciously on my mind. So as I read the definition, and I'll read some of the definitions to you, I realize that everybody right now is in conflict. Every single one of us is in conflict at some level. That we're not consciously aware of it because it's more in our subconscious, this conflict, our subconsciousness. And so, conflict, if we think about conflict, we have to look and say, okay, conflict denotes, and this is according to the dictionary, denotes opposition or struggle. Okay. So if you look at us now in the world, where in the world is there no struggle or opposition? I mean, maybe you know someplace. I'm just looking around the world, and every day there's pops up here, pops up there. So doesn't mean it's all one kind of struggle, but it's wars, it's earthquakes, it's floods, it's a conflict. There is a major conflict happening 24/7. That's also happening within us. As without, so within. And we're trying to make sense and trying to balance ourselves in this middle of this conflict or these conflicts. There's multiple levels. And what they're doing to us is creating these mental struggles, these struggles in our mind, in our memory, and emotional drama. It's about emotional drama that has really taken us to our knees. We'd like to think and blame it for the COVID. We'd like to blame it on the governments. We'd like to blame it on 1,000 things. Okay? It doesn't matter what the source is of the emotional drama. It's the emotional drama that's taking us now. How do we engage that? How do we shift that? How do we change that? And this is part of the journey this morning, is to remind all of us that we have a responsibility not only to ourselves, but to everybody around us as part of the collective whole of humanity. And this is what humanity healing is really about. It's not just about one human, it's about all humanity healing. And this is why we gather. This is why we gather and we follow each other and we listen. And we realize that that simple message of bask in the wonder of life, go deep, soar high, follow your love, and the joy of fulfillment will be yours, is in many ways a promise. It's a promise from another realm of beingness that we are also involved in. It's a state of consciousness where we recognize the spirit world. We recognize ourselves as more than just being humans. We recognize ourselves as part of Mother Earth, as part of the universe, as a part of a collective whole that expands and contracts. And we don't seek to escape from that, because that's part of who we are. But we try to escape from is this confusion, this chaos, this conflict. And when we look around the world in conflict, we see that humans have repeated this conflict over and over and over and over and over, and it's got a different form today, a different name, a blah, 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 but it's all the same. It's conflict. So I'm not saying that if we resolve our conflict, everything will be, 100%. But I believe the goal of taking care of the conflict that's within us, that is arising within us, if we focus on that first, and this is my message to myself today, to focus on the conflict within me before I start tackling the conflict out there. So as you all know, I practice, Global Heart Team. We send love to the world. We send light to the world. I do a kirtan every night at 10 p.m. with Tony Two Cats on Go to the Whole. And we sing these chants and we offer them to the world with light and love. And it doesn't matter. It's the vibration that we create from our hearts that is helping to shift the conflict in the world. Yet within us, we have our own conflicts. And so that was the message to me this morning was, excuse me, I gotta take a sip here. The message to me this morning was, Charlie, look within and find the conflicts within you. And don't judge them as good or bad, but just recognize them as conflicts and resolve them in the most peaceful and kind way you can. And so this is where we are. We're in this world of a virus that is highly contagious. And what we're not realizing is that the conflict within us is more contagious than the virus is. And it's actually killing more of us in many different ways. Maybe not physically, but it's killing us mentally. It's killing us psychologically. It's killing us. It's a disease. And there's no vaccine. There's no medicine. There's no solution other than within us. We are the ones who have to take care of that. We are the doctors of that. We are the medicine for that. And if we don't, it's very deadly. It creates illnesses upon illnesses. It makes us more susceptible to viruses. It really breaks down our whole immune system. It breaks down our whole structure of conscious awareness. And it's insidious, and it does it at such a hidden level that we're not really aware of it. And I'm using the word we, but it's actually, I'm talking about me. Because I know that whatever I'm going through, many of you are going through. And that's why I do these talks. It's not about me necessarily. I'm just the messenger. So although we may not die physically, we will succumb to the toxicity of this insanity. It's really an insanity. And we react to everything in our daily life in ways that it destroys our joy, it destroys relationships, it destroys our hope, it destroys a lot of simple pleasures that we used to have and we used to enjoy and we could laugh about and we could joke with each other about. And even though they were not perhaps they weren't very humorous, but they were us looking at ourselves and accepting how funny or strange we might be and making a joke out of it. Not to hurt somebody, but to just come to know within ourselves we are some amazing beings that can do some amazing things, and some of it is not very brilliant. And we learn to laugh at ourselves. How many times do we laugh at ourselves now? Versus how many times do we judge ourselves? This is conflict. And so when you look at the definitions or the synonyms for all of this, you have discord, strife, conflict, contention, dissension, and variance. Thank you, Merriam-Webster. So where are we with this conflict that can shapeshift into any of those different definitions and live within us and create reactions within us that are not only unpleasant to others, but definitely harmful to ourselves? Okay? It's in our everyday thoughts. And it's not because we choose to focus on those. It becomes, like I say, it becomes a disease. It spreads, and you can be in a perfectly good mood, and in 1 minute, and then you run into something that creates that conflict in you. And many of us can't have conversations with each other anymore because we're so conflicted. We've taken sides. I'm right, you're wrong. There's no communication. There's no trying to understand each other. There's just, uh, you know, I'm going to war. I'm going to war, and I'm going to hang on to my thought pattern. And anybody that tries to change that thought pattern is now my enemy. Horrifying. Horrifying. It happens in our own families. Many of us can't speak to members in our families. And we love them. They're our brothers, our sisters, our children, our, aunts and uncles. They're not bad people. They're just in conflict. And that's how I'm looking at it this morning, is how all of this is just the signals and the signs of being in conflict within our own self. And so the next card I pulled was from my friend Mia, although she produced these cards under the Soul Inspirations message cards by Kalia. And she lives in France, and she's a very brilliant being. And the card was very simple. I don't know if you can, let's see if I can get it so I can read it. Allow your vulnerability. Allow your vulnerability. That was the message to me. When I asked, I said, well, what's the next card? What's the next step in all of this? Okay, I can recognize that I have conflict within myself. I can recognize that I need to do something about it. What's the first thing I need to do? And that was the message card. Thank you. Allow your vulnerability. I don't know if I want to do that. That doesn't feel good to me. My brain doesn't says no. I've been vulnerable my whole life, and the trauma that I'm trying to release now in my life, all that sounds like is I'm opening the door to be vulnerable again, and somebody's going to take advantage of it, and I'm going to get hurt. I'm sure. I think much like all of you. We're not different. We just got different skin suits. That's all. So I look at my wall, the back of my desk, and I posted this sheet on my wall. When I first read it, I said, I need that. And this has got to be at least a year ago. And I tacked it right on that wall. I haven't read it. This thing that I said really is important. I need to read this, and I'm going to post it on my wall. That's how important it is. On my desk, in front of me, right next to the computer, so I can't miss this. I've not read it. Even as I speak to you right now, I've not read it. And the message really was 10 steps to making change easier. And it came from the Daily Ohm, and I will post a link for you to get this, a printable copy of this, because this is it's copyright whatever, so I can't post it, but I will send you. I will put the link right here. I'm going to do it right now as we speak of this, before I get carried away in my own thought patterns and my show notes, and they start to okay, how do I post? There, comment as humanity healing. Okay. How about if I can't comment. Okay, so it is. Okay, so it's 10 steps to making change easier. I posted the link in the chat. And I highly recommend you to read it. I haven't read it yet, but I know that there's a message here. And I was guided today because of my own inner conflict to um, to do this. It's so I love the synchronicity of all of this. And so the reality of all of this is that all of us are suffering from an inner conflict right now. And I want you to become aware of that conflict. Not to say, oh, I've got to do something about it, or I've got to worry about it, or it's good or it's bad, not to judge it, but just to come to this awareness, and I'm sure you already are, of this inner conflict, and that this is what has to be, we have to work on first. We have to make that our priority. And the reason we're making it our priority is because once we can shift our awareness to a broader level of clarity, love, joy, happiness will replace a lot of the conflict we're feeling. And in doing that, we shift our conscious awareness to things that are far more pleasant and things where we may find joy in helping others achieve less conflict. Okay, so again, this is not about going into a deep worry state and saying, "Oh, I can't deal with this." You can deal with this, and these 10 steps are, as I say, I haven't read them, but I know they're a beginning. And I know when I saw these like a year ago and posted them on my wall, I had great intention for doing this. And so the reality for all of us is this is our human nature. Our human nature is that we procrastinate, we put it off to tomorrow, we think about it, and it's okay. Can we accept ourselves as these beings who um, are easily distracted? How do we come back into our sovereignty and saying, it's okay. I don't have to act on everything. But what I have to do is I have to recognize what's going on within myself that's causing me not to act. And in this moment, as many of you are writing in the sidelines, and I'm just feeling your energies, and it's just, I'm going to address some of those. Let me scroll up and see where we go here. Because we're all in this. Lisa says, life is about love and service, always about helping the most vulnerable. Thank you, Lisa. Can we accept ourselves as the most vulnerable? This is a question. How vulnerable am I? And can I trust myself enough to let go of some of the protection? Because this is what we've done. We've created shields upon shields. And every time we create another shield, we bury some traumatic experience that happened because we were vulnerable. We are technically all vulnerable. The reality is we have power over our vulnerability. We've just not learned how to use it in a more beneficial way. Doesn't mean we haven't learned to use it. We have in many ways. But for our future beingness and our present coming together and working towards the betterment of life for humanity, then we have to become a little more vulnerable and tear down some of the fences and walls and allow that stuff to release. It isn't so much about what we're going to come in. A lot of the pain is going to be in the releasing because we're going to have to go through that in our memory bank. But I can assure you one thing, that when we do that and we focus on letting that go, and we let it go with forgiveness, and forgiveness doesn't mean you're making it right. It means I am willing to give this away, and I am thankful. I want to forgive it forever. We change, we shift. Let's see, what do we got here? Couldn't conflict also be a good thing? Helping you to realize what you're passionate about, maybe where to set them out. Absolutely, Samantha. This is, again, this is what I'm talking about, the conflict. Becoming aware of the conflict is a teacher for us. It's the precedent, it's the starting point of where do we begin? What is, and I will suggest, what is easy? What conflict is easy to resolve? And start with easy ones. And as we start to work on letting go or accepting or making a decision on those, we empower ourselves. So we build power within us. We are now taking responsibility for our sovereignty, and realizing that I have this power to do something. I'm not just a victim. What if you looked at both sides and saw irrefutably you're right, and they claim they are right without looking at the other possibilities? Is it wrong to be sure of the truth? Well, if it's the truth, the question is, whose truth is it? So when I hear the word truth now, it's not my truth or your truth. It's what exists as truth with us or without us. So if what's happening in the world right now is this focus on separation, and there's an intention for that. Because if you divide, it's a divide and conquer. It's the same process that's been used for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Is you set one person against another person, one ideology against another, one teaching against another. He's right, I'm wrong, you're that, all of that. That's chaos. That's the order of chaos. So what we're trying to do now is to become less subject to that, and to realize that, yes, everybody may think they're right. And on some level, they are. However, if being right is destructive, if being right is going to destroy the planet, why are we listening to that? Why are we listening to it? We can accept it. We don't have to have conversations about it, because most of the time it gets heated and people will stand and we go to war. This is conflict. So it's perfectly right for everybody to have their own perspective. But perspective doesn't make it the truth. The truth lies behind everything. The truth occurs without our thinking. It's when we think about something that the truth gets pushed around because we're taking an objective or a subjective position and we are judging it. And when we judge, we set ourselves up for conflict. It doesn't mean that it's going to change outside of us. Where it has to change is within us. Now, we have to come to a place. Can we accept certain things? Some things we can and some things we can't. When it's not good for the whole, when what we're thinking and doing is destructive to the whole process of humanity, in some form, shape, or manner, we have to stop and look and say, where is the truth in that? The truth is it's destroying humanity. It doesn't matter how it's destroying it. And in that moment, we have to say, stopping that is the truth. Stopping our self-destruction is the truth. I was not put here on earth to destroy myself or anyone else. And this is a big issue for all of us right now. And it's a tough one because we all have our personal opinions and what we believe is the truth. And I love you all so dearly. And all I'm just looking is look at the conflict within yourself. Come to the truth within what you believe is the truth within yourself. And honor it without attacking, without conflict. Hold to your truth until it no longer is the truth. You know how many truths I've believed in my lifetime? How many gurus have you had in your life? How many priests and teachers have you had in your life? They all told me, they were telling me the truth. Some was, some wasn't. So we're all in this together. And what it is about truth is within us. And we have to regain our conscious awareness of what truth is. And truth is what aligns with us working together as a whole. It ends separation. I'm not going there. I have to laugh because I have a guy that wanted me to go in a certain direction. I says, no, I'm not making this. I'm not making this a podium to stand on. Thank you. What I'm really getting at, and we have to laugh at ourselves, is because when we come to the truth of who we are, we have to realize that each one of us are responsible for what comes out of our mouth and how we deliver it. So, it's, again, surrendering. Somebody, Carrie, surrender. And Carrie, I wrote you something on your message the other day on Facebook. I may call it up right now. As a matter of fact, let's play with this. I'm drifting off into Never Land, but it's okay because I believe it's a wonderful thing. Cariana, who said surrender, and this has been her issue. Surrender. How do we surrender? How do we surrender to the truth? The truth is that this is happening. How do we surrender to it? Surrender doesn't mean give up. It's we come to know that it's happening. And in that moment, what can we do about it? And this is the poem, the message that came through me for her. And it was random as I read her thing on Facebook. To what, let me move this over here so I can read it better. To what do we surrender other than the true source of our powerful beingness deep within our hearts, which is always flowing in perfect harmony and grace? The tides of change within us, as what we think of as life, have no power or function other than to offer us a mesmerizing kaleidoscope of colors and patterns, distracting us only for moments until we remember how precious each of us truly are as the creators, not the created. And that was in response to the word surrender. So we're not surrendering in the sense of we're losing the battle. We're a fight, it's a war and we're fighting it. Surrender is coming back into our sovereignty, into our power, into our light, which defines who we are and what we can do if we let go of the judgment, if we let go of the subjugation, if we let go of the trying to deal with the conflict, because the conflict engages us. It sucks our energy into it. It's a void, it's a black hole, if you will. I'm seeing a black hole. It's sucking the energy right out of us. So what we're doing really now is looking within ourselves and realizing that, again, it's about coming out of the head and into the heart. What does the heart say? What does the heart say? And our heart's been so damaged that it's hard to trust anymore. And this is what we're doing, is we're opening our hearts and we're trying to express it. And as we do that, all of this confusion will begin to make more sense. And I know it's hard and it's a challenge for all of us right now because there's so much. There's so much distortion. He's right, she's wrong. This one's that, this one's that. You know, this is good, that's bad. And we're listening to so many people giving us information that the mind is on overload. We have to come back into our heart in order to find some calmness and stillness. And if we're wrapped up in that conflict, if you're feeling conflict, this is the message. Wake up. Go find that 10 steps to making change easier. First line is, change doesn't have to be hard. Here's 10 steps to make it easier. Begin by making small changes. I'll just briefly touch some of these. Mentally link changes to established daily rituals. Going with the flow can help you accept change instead of resisting it. They're very simple, common things that we know. We know this already, but it's to remind us, and that's why I put it on my wall. But I, the grand I, never read it, never looked at it, said, this is good for me. And I saved it, but never read it. Remember that upheaval and confusion are often natural parts of change. Don't feel like you have to cope without changing circumstances. No matter how large or difficult a change is, you will adapt to new circumstances. If you're trying to change a pattern of behavior or navigate your way through a life change, don't assume that it has to be easy. Simple hints, simple guidelines, each one of us can apply. And I'm all about people being sovereign beings. And right now, we're not. We're enslaved to a society, to many different societies, who have now come together in a sort of global unity of greed and power, and have no care whatsoever for the individual human, or the animal, or the water, or the earth. All they care about is their structure, what they built. They built this world. We can't fight them against their weapons. We don't stand a chance. They know that. They have reached a point where they are so confident in their success that it doesn't matter how many people die, or whether it's children, women, men, animals, trees. They don't care. They are so self-inflamed with their ability to control so much of the energies of our planet. However, the energy they can't control is you, is me. When we get rid of the conflict within ourselves and come back to the truth of who we are. And that's really the message of dealing with conflict today. It's hard for me not to get sucked into the sidelines because I know what everybody is feeling in their hearts. And it's horrible to be in this place, this state of insecurity. And we will put on our armor, and we will want to go to war against the machine. And the machine knows it has more power. The machine knows it can eradicate us in any of thousands of ways. So in dealing with conflict, what happens? Once we begin to release the conflict within us, the truth will appear. It's not going to appear from outside of us. The truth will appear from within us. And in that truth, we will unite. We are united in that truth. And that power, that sovereignty, that light, that love, that peace can't be taken out by any weapon except confusion and conflict. That was a long way to get to there. That's not even in my show notes. Oh, bless you all. I love you all. It's so amazing to be here on Friday mornings with you. You know, it's a joy, and you are my teachers. I see myself in you. And when I tap into what you're saying in the sidelines later, you are teaching me. So I just want to thank you all for being here. I want to encourage you to deal with the conflict, but deal with the conflict that's within you first. Because until we align everything in our human self, aligning it with the heavens above and Mother Earth below, until we get this back in balance, we're going to go through this fluctuation. And we're going to have this one saying this and that one saying that. And they're going to contradict. And they're going to create conflict. Because they profit through conflict. There's no need for wars. There's no need for starvation. I read an article the other day, and it's stuck in my head so clear. Somebody, and I'm not going to mention their names, but supposedly has $338 billion. And the numbers may be wrong, but it was this astronomical amount of money. And the comment was, there's only 7.8 billion people on planet Earth. Again, my numbers may be wrong. If that person who had all of those billions gave everybody, he's got enough to give everybody $1 billion and still be a billionaire. I mean, and put it perfect. Put it right in perfect sense. Perfect sense of how each of us are dealing with this conflict of greed and power. And it will end. I promise you it will end. But it can end in a much better way if we deal with the conflict within ourselves and come back into balance. And say, well, I believe this, and I'm going to believe this until I'm proven it's otherwise. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't make it yourself so hardline that you're willing to die for it. There's no purpose in that. It serves nobody. They can kill you anyway. They're killing you now through your food, your suffering, the virus. And I'll stop because I don't want to rant. I want to just share with you that what's important right now is to make a change in your own life, within your own presence. Honor who you are. Know that your souls are so precious. Your souls are so beautiful. And we as souls, rather than humans, are amazing, powerful creators. We're not puppets. I love you. I thank you. I respect you. I am you. You are me. And whether you agree with me or don't agree with me, I still love you. Whether you find conflict in what I said, I still love you. There is nothing you can do to change my mind about how each one of you are a precious diamond here on the surface of Mother Earth. May each of you be filled with the light that you truly are. And when we do the kirtan at night, I always hold up this beautiful, be the diamond. Be the diamond light that you are. Look at that. That's who you are. When you clear away all the shit, that's who you are. Go out there, be seen, be heard, but don't be in conflict. I love you. Thank you for being here. It's always a joy. And we'll see you next Friday. Blessed be.